I still remember the first time I saw Anna. It was the summer of 1988, and she walked into choir practice like a breath of fresh air. She had this effortless beauty about her, soft brown curls that framed her face, and the kind of smile that made you believe in something greater. She was new in town, but when she sang, it felt like she had always belonged. I was just 20 then, full of dreams and confidence. My friends used to joke that I was the guy everyone trusted, the dependable one. When Anna joined the choir, I found myself wanting to be more than just dependable. I wanted to be her everything. We became close quickly. Rehearsals turned into long walks home, where we talked about everything. Her dreams of being a teacher, my plans to start my own business, our shared faith in God. By the time the summer ended, we were inseparable. People used to call us the choir couple, and I loved it. Our love felt pure, untouched. We'd spend evenings by the lake, lying under the stars, talking about the future. One night she turned to me and said, "Michael, promise me we'll always be like this, no matter what happens." I promised. Jake was my best friend. We grew up together, practically brothers. We shared everything, our victories, our failures, even our secrets. When I introduced him to Anna, he was happy for me, or at least I thought he was. "Man, you're lucky," Jake said once after choir practice. "Anna's a keeper." At the time, his comment felt genuine, like a compliment. But now looking back, I can see it for what it really was, a glimpse into the storm that was about to rip my life apart. Jake was charming, the kind of guy who could walk into a room and command attention. He had a way of making people feel special, and Anna wasn't immune to it. I noticed how she'd laugh a little too hard at his jokes, or how their conversations seemed to linger longer than necessary. "Don't be ridiculous," I told myself. "Jake's your brother, and Anna loves you. There's nothing to worry about." But deep down, a seed of doubt had been planted. It was a Friday evening. I had come home early from work, excited to surprise Anna. She had mentioned she'd be spending the afternoon at the house, preparing for choir practice later that night. As I approached the door, I heard laughter, hers and his. My heart stopped. I opened the door quietly, stepping into the living room, and that's when I saw them. Jake was sitting too close to Anna on the couch, his hand resting on her thigh. She didn't pull away. Instead, she leaned into him, her face glowing in a way that used to be just for me. He lowered his face onto her, head resting on my Anna's head, almost eating the sacred food I was willing to wait for. "Anna," my voice cracked as I spoke. They both jumped, guilt written all over their faces. Anna scrambled to her feet, stammering excuses I couldn't process. Jake just sat there silent, his eyes avoiding mine. "What the hell is this?" I demanded, my voice rising. "In my apartment." "Michael, it's not what it like," Anna said, tears streaming down her face. But it was exactly what it looked like. The days after that were a blur of anger and pain. I couldn't look at her, couldn't touch her. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw them together. Anna tried to explain. She said it was a mistake, that it didn't mean anything. But how could I believe her when the image of her leaning into Jake was burned into my memory in the kiss? If I hadn't come in, how far would they have considered too far? Would he caress her too beautiful to be real sculptured body? Would he kiss my Anna? Would he have had a carnal knowledge of her? My Anna, my brother, my apartment, my couch. These questions and more, coupled with what I saw, became my worst nightmare for what seems like forever. Jake avoided me completely, too much of a coward to face what he had done. One night, Anna begged me to talk. "Please, Michael," she sobbed, "don't let this destroy us." "Us?" I spat. "You destroyed us the moment you let him touch you. How far would you have gone if I hadn't stepped in? Did you even consider me at all? Have you ever yearned for me like you did him that day?" Your eyes burnt with desire for him, something I hadn't seen in you before. Did you love him all along? Did you choose him over me? I allowed my emotions rolled and tears came pouring down from the very depth of my being. Anna had never seen me so shattered and spent like that before. Did she think it was a joke? Or maybe I was too young to know what I want. She collapsed into tears, and for the first time, I felt nothing for her. 30 years later, and I can still feel the sting of that moment. I'm 50 now, but fully healed. Sure, I moved on, dated other women, even came close to marrying once, but I could never shake the feeling that love was a trap. Every time I got close to someone, Anna's betrayal would resurface. I'd find myself questioning their loyalty, looking for signs that they might hurt me too. It wasn't fair to them, and it wasn't fair to me. I've spent most of my life alone, trapped in the shadow of a relationship that ended decades ago. People tell me to let it go, to forgive her, but they don't understand. How do you forgive the person who shattered your heart? Last week, I found myself sitting in a therapist's office for the first time. I don't know what pushed me to go. Maybe it was the realization that I didn't want to spend the rest of my life like this, stuck in the past. The therapist asked me why I was there. Because I can't move on, I said. She cheated on me with my best friend 30 years ago, and I'm still not over it. Her response surprised me. Have you ever considered that your inability to let go isn't about her? It's about you. I decided to reach out to Anna. It had been years since we last spoke, but I needed answers. She agreed to meet. And as I walked into the cafe, I saw her sitting by the window. She looked older, of course, but still beautiful. There was a nervousness in her eyes as I sat down. Michael, she began, her voice trembling. I'm so sorry for what I did to you. For the first time, I saw her guilt, her pain. And for the first time, I realized that holding on to my anger had only been hurting me. Forgiveness didn't come easy, but it came. Not for her sake, but for mine. I wrote Jake a letter, not to reconcile, but to release the bitterness I had carried for so long. I started focusing on myself, pursuing hobbies I had abandoned, reconnecting with friends, even going on dates without the weight of the past holding me back. I'm still healing, but I've learned that healing isn't about forgetting the past. It's about learning to live with it without letting it control you. For the first time in decades, I felt free. Healing is not a straight path, and it's certainly not an easy one. For 30 years, I carried a weight that nearly destroyed me. But sharing my story with you has been part of my healing process, a step toward freedom and self-forgiveness. If you've ever experienced betrayal, heartbreak, or the lingering scars of a broken trust, I hope my story shows you that it's never too late to reclaim your life. Pain may linger, but healing is possible when we confront the past and choose to let go of its power over us. Thank you for taking the time to read my journey and for walking this path with me. If this story has resonated with you, please consider following and subscribing for more stories of healing, growth, and the power of second chances. Together, let's build a community where we can find hope, share our truths, and inspire each other to move forward. Remember, no matter how deep the scars, healing begins with a single step. Let's take it together.